Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into some incredibly common yet deeply serious issues in our society. We're going to break down what these problems actually look like on the ground, and more importantly, how they're being solved. So, let's jump right in. Do you actually know what problems our society is facing right now? We're often so caught up in our daily routines that we just kind of tune out the issues right in front of us. Well, today, we're changing that. We'll use 5 everyday examples to really understand what exactly makes a problem a social problem. Okay, let's dive into this. Before we get to our examples, we need to answer a really basic question. What actually makes something a social problem? It's a phrase we hear all the time, right? But it has a very specific definition. Essentially, a social problem is a situation that harms the society as a whole, and it requires a collective effort to solve. That's the absolute core of our discussion today. We're not just talking about one individual's personal struggle. We're talking about situations with a massive impact, things that no single person can fix on their own. There are 4 main characteristics to keep in mind here. First, it affects a huge number of people. Second, it literally hinders a society's development. Third, it requires joint efforts, meaning governments, NGOs, and everyday citizens working together. And fourth, these problems change over time and have multiple complex causes. Let's take this framework and apply it to the real world. Our first 2 examples are child labor and gender discrimination. Both of these are deep-rooted issues that perfectly fit all 4 of those characteristics we just talked about. Millions. Just think about that massive scale for a second. In India alone, millions of children are forced to work in factories, shops, and homes instead of going to school. When children are pushed into labor, their childhood is literally stolen from them. And that doesn't just hurt the child, it weakens the foundation of the entire nation's future. Now, what's really interesting about tackling this is that it requires serious collective action. We need strict government laws setting age limits, massive education programs to get kids into classrooms, and widespread public awareness. All 3 of these have to work together simultaneously to create real change. And this brilliantly illustrates our second example, gender discrimination. Even today, in so many places, girls aren't given the same importance. They face unequal access to education, early forced marriages, and constant safety concerns. Now, it's easy to just wave this off as one family's problem, but it's not. It is a problem for the entire society, because you absolutely cannot move forward if you're leaving half your population behind. So the solution has to be on a massive scale too. Programs like the Beti Bachao or Save the Daughter campaign, a huge push for women's education, and broad social awareness drives are critical here. These are large-scale efforts specifically designed to shift societal mindsets and create equal opportunities for everyone. Let's move to our next category, where we'll look at issues that threaten our daily survival and our economic stability: environmental pollution and poverty. These are massive problems that directly impact our health and our future right now. The air we breathe in our cities, the water we drink, and the soil we grow food in are all getting severely polluted, and the impacts, they're terrifying. Rising lung diseases, unsafe drinking water, and rapid climate change. It's fantastic if one family decides to recycle, but let's be real, one family alone cannot fix a crisis of this magnitude. It demands a massive, coordinated effort. We need strict government regulations, large-scale tree planting initiatives, a huge reduction in plastic use, and continuous community awareness. From top-level government down to the average citizen, absolutely everybody has to be involved. Which brings us back to that powerful word, millions. This is our 4th example, poverty. Just like child labor, millions of people today are struggling just to get 2 meals a day. This leads to severe malnutrition and completely blocks access to basic healthcare and education. Poverty isn't just an individual's bad luck, it is arguably the biggest roadblock to any nation's economic development. To overcome poverty, society has to step up. We need to massively increase livelihood and job options, ensure universal access to education, and governments must implement concrete schemes that act as a safety net. Defeating poverty is absolutely essential if a country wants to move forward. Let's move to our 5th and final example and see how this builds. Communal violence. This refers to violence based on religion, caste, or community lines. It is a highly complex issue that can literally shake the foundation of any society. The impacts here are devastating. Communal violence results in a tragic loss of life and property. It completely breaks down social trust between neighbors, spreads fear and hatred, and brings both social and economic development to a dead stop. So the crucial point is summed up in this powerful quote. One family or one police station can't fix this. When social trust is broken at this scale, a basic response just isn't enough. It requires a massive collective intervention to rebuild the society. Rebuilding that trust requires highly coordinated steps. Promoting religious harmony and using education to break down old prejudices is key. Alongside that, open intercommunity dialogue helps restore lost trust, while strict impartial legal action ensures safety for everyone involved. All right, so we've looked at child labor, gender discrimination, environmental pollution, poverty, and communal violence. But listen, these 5 examples are just the beginning of a much larger conversation. Our goal today wasn't just to list out problems, but to really focus on the solutions, and more importantly, how we can actually contribute. And that brings us to a checklist that shifts us from despair to actionable hope. Keep these 4 things in mind. First, society solves its own problems. It's up to us to fix them. Second, every single contribution matters, no matter how small it seems. Third, education is our greatest weapon against these issues. And fourth, small, consistent changes eventually create a massive impact. Which leaves us with one final, very important question. What can you do at your level? I really want you to think about that today. Look at your daily life, look at your surroundings, and ask yourself what small step you can take right now to be part of the solution. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.